This morning, we are super excited to present with you Karen Midlo, who is an end-of-life doula. I'll give you a little background on Karen. She's a fantastic woman, first of all, and Karen holds a Bachelor of Science in Education from Ashland University in Ashland, Ohio. Karen is a trained end-of-life doula and a David Kessler certified grief counselor. She works for Life Changes Elder Care Counseling, or consulting, excuse me. Karen really wants to help people have difficult conversations around the kitchen table versus the hospital bed. Her favorite saying is, "Hope is not a plan." Karen has an extensive background with over 20 years in elder care, including dementia care, hospice, mental health, and other elder health issues. She is a passionate advocate for seniors and their families. Karen's husband, Kenny, died suddenly, and she knows that without the love and support of the senior population she worked, she would not have been able to heal as quickly as she did. She decided that she would spend the rest of her life being in service to others, especially around death and dying, as a way of giving back to those who supported and listened to her. Karen is an active member of the Treasure Valley community and volunteers with various organizations that serve the senior and homeless population. Karen, we are super excited to have you this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to present, and please take it away.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. And it's such a joy and honor to be here with you all. I usually get to listen to this on video since I have another standing Thursday morning and I got to miss it today to be with you all. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. I'll set my timer, and thank you, Dara, for being my driver. I appreciate that. I apologize in advance that I can't look at you correctly. This morning, I'm not very technical. And I decided yesterday I was going to put this great background on my screen, and turned out that when I turned my Zoom on this morning, my camera was upside down. So my camera is literally sitting upside down so that I'm straightward forward. So that kind of tells you how I started my morning, a little upside down, but I'm nonetheless more thrilled to be here to talk to you about end-of-life doulas. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. And here we go. My favorite saying, hope is not a plan. Guess what, everybody? Death sees us all equally. We're all going to die, and we're all going to die at some point. And we all deserve to die to be cared for with compassion and with kindness. So what I want to do right now is just take a minute and have you write just somewhere on a notebook, what are the 3 most important things for you to have at end of life? We're not going to share it out loud, but I'd just like you to think about that for a minute. Okay, everybody had enough time? Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So statistics, some of them are just staggering. I think the very first fact right there at the very beginning, that there's 76.4 million baby boomers living in the United States, and 20% of them do not have their own children to act as caregivers. That's pretty amazing. And then the other facts, by 2030, 1 of 5 people in the US, or 20% of the population, will be 65 or older. 9 out of 10 people want to be at home if they become terminally ill, yet half of the people are either at the hospital or at some kind of care facility. And then the number of aged people 65 and over is projected to increase from 52 million in 2018 to 98 million in 2060. And as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir here, you know that we have a shortage of caregivers, of nurses, and of doctors. And what that means is the care of all of us aging, myself included, is going to fall on us as a community. I think those are some very interesting statistics, and I've got those from Suzanne O'Brien from Doula Givers. Next slide, please. So what does a doula do and what is a doula? Well, doula comes from the Greek word doule, which translates to mean helper. I'm sure you've heard of a birthing doula, and we do the opposite. We're on the end of life. Just like a birthing doula, we do provide non-medical support along with companionship, guidance, education, comfort to people who are dealing with terminal illnesses or death. In a nutshell, we seek to help clients and their loved ones reimagine death and dying by engaging in conversations about experiencing a meaningful, lifeful, and peaceful death. And with that, would you take a look at your list and cross off one of the things that's on your list? Just cross it off. We want to help facilitate plans for future stages of life and offer compassion, presence during the final months, weeks, and days of life. Next slide, please. That's our mission, and I'm not going to go through that because I really want to save time for questions and some answers, but I shared with you in a nutshell that we seek to help clients. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Dara, thank you. It's important to notice, as you know, that each dying person and their loved ones' needs are unique, and so are the services that doulas provide. You can either call them death doulas, end-of-life doulas, and I actually was listening to a podcast last night that suggested that we be called serious illness doulas, because the word death has this, undertone that no one really likes to talk to. So sort of an interesting thing. Next slide. So what do doulas do? We do a lot of things. The most important thing to remind everybody is that we do not provide medical help, but we provide support in all the different areas that you see here listed. The most important thing that we provide is full presence to our clients and to the families. And all of us have different specialties. And each doula, it's important if you decide when you want to work with the doula that you ask what their specialties and things are. Now we're going to go to the next slide. And I think we're going to skip that because that's a duplicate slide. It's kind of, So now I would like to ask Christine Souza, who's also on the call with me, who's also, before I do that, Christine, let me finish this real quick. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. So one of the things that we are very passionate about is providing education to the community, to the Treasure Valley. So the first thing we started was something called Living with Death. I don't know if you've all heard about the Death Cafe, which is here in the Boise area. It's held every quarter. We're kind of like the Death Cafe, only we've decided we want to add another element, which is we want to provide education. So we meet the second Wednesday of every month. Allsep's Person's Funeral Chapel has opened their space to us, and it's where we have education, and then we provide conversation and support. We just had a meeting last night, and we're talking about advanced directives and tools to do that as easily as possible. Our next meeting is on April the 10th, and we would love to invite you to that. And if you need flyers and you're able to put them up around your coffee shops, let me know. I'd be happy to get those for you. We hope to bring something here to the Treasure Valley, to the Boise area. Living with Death, we're working on that. More to be revealed, more to come. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now I'm going to bring on my fellow doula, Christine. Christine, would you like to come on? Christine is also a Learn member, and I'd like her to tell you a little bit about what she does, and then we'll take the last few minutes to answer your questions. Take it away, Christine.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christine Souza. Thank you, Karen, for a lovely presentation. I am a LPN. I've been a nurse for over 30 years, but I'm also an end-of-life doula, and I also provide Reiki for folks at the end of life, any stage for people on their healing journey, but I am focusing mostly for folks at the end of life. Karen, thank you so much for your thought-provoking question of how, the questions of important things at the end of life. And then you asked me to cross one off, and I did not want to cross any of them off. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I think I have really recently I worked as a hospice nurse for a couple of years, and then also being able to explore what truly does an end of life doula do? What does a doula do? And finding the experience that I just had recently with my client was really just meeting people where they're at, and I think each doula brings a different level of experience and care, but it really is client driven. So really, what the client needs is kind of a beautiful way to be able to help just guide them and just walk along with them on the journey. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Christine. And would you go ahead and cross off another thing on your list, please? And just to tell you a little bit of End of Life Doulas Idaho, I was trained last year and had the opportunity to write an article for the Senior Blue Book. And I said, I can't just do this by myself. If we're going to be in the Senior Blue Book, I need to get a website and I need to get other people involved. And that is sort of how the End of Life Doulas birthed. And what's so amazing is I'm meeting doulas I'm all over the place that have been trained. And so this is a place for people in Idaho to go to find doulas. There you'll read our backgrounds. We all have very different backgrounds, and it's an opportunity for you to interview and talk with the doula and find out who you would like to work with when the time is right.
What is your website, Karen?
Yes, the website. Oh, is it not on there? So the website is, I guess we can go to the very front slide. Well, if you do the little scan, that takes you right to the website, but it's endofdoulasIdaho.org. Thank you for that.
End of Life Doulas, right?
Mm-hmm.
EndoflifedoulasIdaho.org. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dara. And with that, because we have less than 5 minutes, I'm watching my time to be respectful of your time. Is there any questions that anyone has?
I have a question for you, Karen.
Go for it.
Yeah. So at what point would somebody contact you or the organization to get involved with where they need help or where they're at? At what point is recommended that somebody reach out?
It's a great question, Karen. Thank you for asking it. I don't think it's too soon once someone gets a terminal diagnosis, because there's a lot of shock. There's a lot of things to be prepared and a lot of things to handle. I spoke with a gentleman yesterday, actually, who was looking for his mom who just got diagnosed with a terminal illness. She's 6 to 12 months. They've given her 6 to 12 months. But whenever possible, early preparation and personal reflection can help pave the path for a successful in the person's final days. So it's never too soon. And we work alongside of hospice. We don't work with hospice. We aren't taking their jobs from them, but we are working with them. And thank you. I just see that Mary asked about payment. At this point in time, we are private pay, but our hope and goal is that at some point, some of the hospice agencies may see the value of a doula, and through some of their charity organizations, be able to pay a doula to add an extra service for their clients. Because we're in there spending the time, not that they're not, but we have the time to give the clients versus they who have to see a lot of other patients. And we hope that someday this will be covered so that the services, because they're valuable services. There's also training that you can receive. And I'm happy to share that with you. There's one woman, actually Suzanne O'Brien, who I showed her statistics. Every month she does a free doula training for an hour and a half, because her belief is we aren't going to have enough caregivers, and we all need to know how to take care of our loved ones at home. So that's a great question.
So I have a question. Oh,
go ahead. No.
I was going to just say, I want to know why I'm crossing things off my list, Karen.
Oh, well, at the very end, before I was going to let Christine read her poem, and then I was going to tell you why.
Right.
Well, I'll give you my why.
Let's do that. Why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay, perfect. The reason I want you to have that one thing left on your list is I want you to circle that, and I want you to find somebody that you care for to tell them at some point, at least that one wish that you have for your death. for how you want your death to be handled. If you could only have one wish, what would it be? So that they know. I'd love you to share all three of them, but figured if I could just give you an assignment for one, that would work. Great question. Thank you. And we appreciate the opportunity to share. If you have any questions, feel free to call. We're happy to do free consultation.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Christine.
Thank
We
you.
so appreciate you being here with us today and sharing such a valuable bit of information. I know that all of us appreciate your time and effort to do that.